Alrighty, good morning everybody. It's Tuesday, October 8th, 2024. Let's go ahead and jump on back and take a look at what happened yesterday. A bit of a choppy market for the first hour or two there. We were trading right kind of smack dab in the middle of our two conflicting signals, right? We have a bearish signal from the all-time high. We have nice strong bullish signal from last week's low. And I told you guys we just happened to be trading when the market opened. If maybe we could pull the higher time frame here up. We were trading right in the middle. So there's the major high, there's the major low. Market opened right around here, trading right in the middle of the whole thing. So that wasn't where I was trading. I think me and Mustafa had a meeting and I mentioned that it wasn't a smart spot to be trading. We wanted to see who was going to win out. Were the bears going to win out, pull the market lower, or were we going to get some type of bullish breakout through this little pocket? And so the morning was pretty choppy here. We'll take a look here. Market opened here, held the VWAP there right out of the open. So there actually was a decent short from there and a short from that first roadmap level as it was kind of pulling back. But I wouldn't have been making any trading decisions in here. I've been waiting for it to break below 50% of the previous day mostly, or break out to the upside. So you did have the opportunity there to try that short, gave you a little bit, but as you can see, the whole morning was just chopping back and forth, right? Nothing too sexy to talk about. Yes, it held the holy orange power level a couple times there from the top end and from the bottom end, but it was very, very choppy until we started to get the breakdown, right? So for that first, what could we say? For the first two and a half hours in the market, it was just chopping back and forth. No rhyme or reason to anything. And then we got the push down below 50% of the day before and 50% of the last week, right? And then from there, we got the beginning of a nice correction back all the way back down. Eventually got back down to the low of last week. So we can take a look at when market started to do that. We got down through the 50%. That's when they came up and they gave that beautiful tag off the back end of the 200 moving average, the first tag of the 200 after the crossover there. So there is that textbook setup that I teach. And we even had beautiful bearish divergence on that second peak above right there. So that would have been the great trigger right there to go ahead and try a short. And sure enough, if you took that, you actually got, let's see, 57.80 all the way down. You know, that's a 40-point push, 40-plus point push that you could have got in and maybe took on 2 or 3 ticks of risk. If you missed out from there, yes, they did kind of hold the 50% area, so we weren't really out of the weeds for that, you know, that choppy area, but they did come right to the back end, and this is just kind of textbook stuff that happens over and over again. When we started to get this lower lows here and push out tag of the back end of Hopel there, again, one tick through it, bearish divergence, and if you missed out off the 200, great, another low risk opportunity there that again you would have got 40 plus points to the downside if you had some type of larger runner going. And then if you missed out on fading the back end of Hopel, they did come up and almost tagged the 200 there, but more sexy to me was this setup right here when they finally got back down and came up and tagged the back end of 50% of yesterday and last week with a beautiful bearish divergence, right? So that would have been a really, really sexy opportunity there. Again, 0 or 1 or 2 ticks of risk that could have brought you 20, 30 points to the downside or more. And this is that typical stair-step type of scenario that I talk about. Unfortunately, it's not like it just stair-steps every single day perfectly, but you do have this hold from the Hopel, then the hold from the 50 there again, both tests with beautiful bearish divergence, and then finally right down to the back end of the next roadmap level, where once again we did not have much of a break by more than 2 or 3 ticks there, maybe a point, and then you just got this beautiful push lower. And if actually Mustafa, we were in our meeting, and right when the market was here, we literally ticked right here, and I said, hey, look, technically, if you wanted to make an argument here, we have bearish divergence right now as price is pushing through the fast moving average, but it's a risky trade because I would have much rather have taken it right off of one of my roadmap levels or something like that, not something so what's the word for it, maybe aggressive. And sure enough, like right in front of our eyes, next candle printed inside of it, next candle broke lower, and I was like, wow, well, look at that. It ended up working out, but I wouldn't have taken that trade. And then look what happened right while we're watching the screen, like a 20-point sell-off in the matter of like a minute. Like quite literally, right as I told him that would be a great setup there. Or that would be technically what a divergence is in real time. So that was kind of funny. Again, I would have much rather have taken the trade right off my roadmap level or back as we were failing through the 50% area. Another thing to note is on the way down there, you could have bought the roadmap level here with a double bottom and bullish divergence. That's another divergence we were looking at in real time. You could have seen it and gotten in and actually took a scalp from this roadmap level to just in front of this roadmap level in case it rotated and came down lower, right? So that was a good opportunity. This was the sexiest opportunity here. And then again, you have this tag of the back end. So there was a stair step down the roadmap levels, and then again, this was magical to watch in real time, just as I was quite literally mentioning that we could have a pullback from there. And we got a 20-point push down from there. And then unfortunately, it did not come up and then just kiss the back end of this roadmap level and then come down again even more, right? Like, that's why I say it's not always every time. But it did kind of peak up. And then eventually you can see very clearly here that obviously the bears were jumping in right around this area, right? They came back, they tagged it. They tried once, the bulls tried once again to break on through it. And then sure enough came in and then tagged off and came lower. So this one wasn't super clean, but you can still see ostensibly right there around 57, 56 was the major rotational point. And then continued to step lower and lower. And then I believe towards the end of the day, it just kind of started to peter out. So we don't think we got much lower there. If I recall, it just started petering out here at the end of the day. Got a little bit of choppiness. And then up came right back, kissed the back end of that next roadmap level to the tick. And then at the end of the day there, yeah, it just meandered back and forth. No rhyme or reason, technically higher highs, higher lows if you look at that. But beautiful tag to the tick off of the roadmap level and then right back down to the previous daily low to finish the day with this little bounce. So in my opinion, you did have some really, really good opportunities once the market did start to make these lower lows. Not over in here. This was a total chop fest. We were right inside of everything, right around 50% of the range we're trading inside of. But once we got this, we started to get that look like things were getting bearish. We were getting the crossovers looking much more bearish. The slope of our moving averages, and then bam. Perfect opportunities for the bear shot here. That brings us into the overnight session where, interestingly enough, the bears pulled the market back when the Globex market opened right to our next roadmap level, almost to the tick. And now we are trying to push out, right? So it's been a pretty whipsaw kind of market. If you see here now, so right down to our roadmap level in the overnight. This would have been actually basically in the afternoon for some of us. Could have been a nice long, trying to just counter trend it there and see if we get a nice push out. And sure enough, you got it. Obviously slow and choppy throughout that overnight session as we went into the wee hours of the night there. Just not a whole lot going on in terms of movement in the market. Just a whole bunch of chop. Still respecting, if you zoom in and look, how many times here we came right into this roadmap level, which is a major support and resistance in the market, and quite literally failed off of it a lot of times. It just was choppy overall, right? And then we got through it to the upside and started holding it here nearly to the tick for the bulls to try and push out, right? So it was still very relevant, that 57.46 level becoming a major resistance here throughout the night, you know, in many cases to the tick. And then once they pushed up above there, they pulled back and held it to the tick. And then that got us back up here. So again, it looks choppy, but if you really dissect it, that level still being very, very relevant. And now here we are coming into the open. And sure enough, we're right up to our next major roadmap level here and just kissed the back end of 50% of yesterday. So here we are. Let's go ahead and jump up to the higher time frames